but it's a radically distributed organization. And we don't even know how radically distributed. And it's almost impossible to identify its core members or even to define what core membership might be. Now, you did point to Rose City Antifa, but if I said, for example, well, how many other Antifa groups are there that have an identifiable organizational strategy that's akin to Rose City Antifa? How many do you have any sense of that?
Just a few dozen. There aren't very many, but the thing is, many they close and then they spring up as new ad hoc groups under different names, but it's really the same, relatively the same people involved.
Okay, a few dozen. So that's real interesting. So that's like, let's say 24. Just let's make this concrete because I think it'll be interesting to do so. So in that 24, how many people do you think are core involved in each group? Do you think it's like 5? Is it 3? Is it 10? Like real hardcore people who are devoting their time to this, like maybe they're unemployed. That would be a real shock. And it's their full-time job, something like that. How many people?
Across the entirety of the United States, if most of them, let's say, were averaging around the same size as the Rose City Antifa, then I would say in total, we're looking at below 1,000 people in across the entire United States. So hundreds, which is, in the scheme of things and for the scale, that's a very small number.
Yeah, well, it's so small that you could say that it's, and I'm not saying this, but it's so small that you could say that it's non-existent, right? Because it's 1 in 300,000 if it's the US. It's such a tiny minority of people that they barely exist. But what that points to is something actually, that minimizing it in that manner actually points to something far more sinister. Because what it means is that under 1,000 committed people can radically destabilize whole cities and pose a threat to the integrity of entire culture, not least by fostering polarization and the degeneration of the political scheme that comes along with that. And so that's a real danger for all of us, particularly if it's the case that groups like that can multiply their power by pulling other semi-attached and maybe not so violent or even extremist people in on the basis of their empathy.